Hi there. I watched your video addressing the 5 Adventist teachings that you think are biblical, and I appreciate your respectful tone and desire to search the scriptures. That's what we are called to do. But I want to invite you and every sincere seeker to consider this. If we truly want to end confusion and arrive at the truth, we must go back to the blueprint. Because before there were denominations, councils, or traditions, God gave us the sanctuary. From Exodus to Revelation, the sanctuary is the heavenly pattern that reveals the character of God, the full plan of salvation, and the final judgment. It's God's way of removing sin and restoring His people. It's the lens Christ used, and it's the structure Revelation follows. But let's take your 5 critics and ask, do these teachings fit the blueprint? Number 1, the investigative judgment. Is it biblical? Yes, it is. If we follow the Day of Atonement in Leviticus 16, once a year, the high priest entered the most holy place to cleanse the sanctuary. This wasn't about forgiveness that happened daily. This was about final accountability, a review, a separation of the sincere from the false. Daniel 8 verse 14 says, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. That's the heavenly day of atonement, which Revelation 14 calls the hour of His judgment. It's not strange, it's patterned in the sanctuary. Jesus is finishing what He started, not in a field, but in a heavenly temple. Is the Sabbath the seal of God? In Exodus 31 verse 13, God says, my Sabbaths are a sign between me and you, that you may know I am the Lord. That's not a metaphor. That's a covenant sign. A seal in scripture contains God's name, title, the fourth commandment, as all 3. And in Revelation, the final crisis is over worship, not just belief. The beast enforces a mark. God seals His servants. The Sabbath, rooted in creation and redemption, is God's original sign of allegiance. Should Christians accept Ellen White as a prophet? The sanctuary teaches that when God's people are in a crisis or error, He raises up prophets. 2 Chronicles 36 verse 15 to 16, and Revelation 12 verse 17, and Revelation 19 verse 10 says that the last day church will have the testimony of Jesus, which is the spirit of prophecy. Ellen White always pointed back to the Bible and the sanctuary message, tested by the fruits, by the doctrines she upheld, and by Isaiah 8 verse 20. The law in the New Testament, she passes the test. Is Sunday worship the mark of the beast? Let's be clear, no one has the mark of the beast now. But when worship is legislated and people are forced to choose between God's command and man's, then worship becomes the battleground. The sanctuary teaches that God defines how He is to be worshipped. Cain tried his own way. Nadab and Abihu brought strange fire and died. God doesn't leave worship up to people's preferences. If the Sabbath is God's sign, a counterfeit must exist, and Sunday, promoted as a substitute by human authority, will one day become the test of loyalty. Is annihilationism biblical? Yes, the sanctuary ends with the sin removed, not eternal suffering preserved. Malachi 4 verse 1 says, the wicked will be bent up, ashes under the sole of your feet. Jesus said in Matthew 10:28, fear Him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Eternal punishment is real, but eternal torment, that idea doesn't come from the sanctuary, but from pagan philosophy. God is just, but He is not a sadist. My final appeal, here's the real question, not whether Adventism is biblical, but will not let God's blueprint be our final authority, because if we follow the pattern He gave, not men's tradition, not denominational opinion, we'll find that these teachings are not just biblical, they are beautiful. The sanctuary brings harmony to all scripture. And when we interpret prophecy, worship, judgment, and salvation through the sanctuary, it all fits. I invite you not to become an Adventist, but to become a student of the sanctuary, because in that sacred pattern is the truth we are all looking for. And as always, God bless you.